2020 and 2021 will forever be remembered as two of the most troubled years we have experienced in recent history. When the pandemic arrived in Mexico, the detention centers closed their doors to non-essential personnel and to the families of these children. It was a means to control the spread of the virus, but the irreversible damage was far too great. All classes were suspended, there were no recreational activities, and no visits from their families. Some children were awaiting trials which had to be postponed, and they could not get in touch with their legal advisors nor with the judges who handled their cases. Nonetheless, this was not a deterrent to JJAI's efforts to provide assistance to the children. When the pandemic forced severe changes inside the detention centers, we published our recommendations for the safekeeping of the lives of these forgotten children. We mobilized InKind aid to more than 1,000 children, sending much-needed supplies to battle the coronavirus, and we created spaces for the children to continue learning via virtual classes, as well as keeping their spirits up with recreational activities and access to video calls with their parents through the donation of cell phones and laptops. Once the visit restrictions were lifted, we immediately began offering family reunifications in as many Mexican states as possible. Parents and their children were reunited once again, and hope for a proper reintegration to society was back on track. 15 volunteer teachers taught over 150 hours of virtual and in-person classes during 2021 to 163 youths in 17 different detention centers. The boys and girls who participated in these classes learned many different skills, from drawing to yoga and also baking. But they also continued with their STEM classes, and over 40% of all students learned English as a second language. We were able to distribute over 4,739 pieces of in-kind donations to the boys and girls of 33 different detention centers. We assisted youth in 35 detention centers in Mexico and Puerto Rico. 65% of detained youth across 27 states in Mexico were impacted. We also held our second installment of the National Art Contest. This year, 230 boys and girls participated with their painting, singing, dancing, and writing talents. Through these artistic outlets, they let us learn more about their feelings and views as children living in incarceration during the coronavirus pandemic. We continued to fight for changes to the youth justice system through the Alternatives to Detention project. Our COVID-19 monitoring project evaluates conditions in detention centers across Mexico City, San Luis Potosi, Coahuila, and Chihuahua. Through this project, our best recommendations on how to tackle the coronavirus pandemic in detention centers have been put into practice. The National Child Protection Services have collaborated with us to make sure that these new practices are being implemented properly in each detention center to ensure that the spread of the virus is contained. And our National Task Force to shorten pretrial meetings in Durango has enabled us to work alongside the judges, prosecutors, and the defense to accelerate the legal processes of the youths who are awaiting trial. We are also replicating our probation model, Services for Youth and Release in Chihuahua and Durango, ensuring that youth on release do not end up back in detention, but receive effective community-based services instead. This project has been successful in Chihuahua State and will be implemented in Chiapas and Mexico City during 2022. What does the future have in store for JJAI? We want to continue our assistance to as many children as possible in the world. This means that we are working tirelessly to expand our projects into other Mexican states, with Chiapas being our #1 priority during the next year. And in Latin America, JJAI is aiming to share its best practices in justice for youth. To that end, we are excited to share that we have signed a new framework collaboration agreement with the Public Prosecutor's Office of Buenos Aires, Argentina. The Attorney General and JJAI will provide training to juvenile prosecutors in Argentina's largest jurisdiction. JJAI's specialized training is designed to provide tools to officials in the juvenile justice sector in accordance with the Convention on Children's Rights and international standards. We have already completed an initial training session through Zoom in Argentina, and we are aiming to replicate these efforts in Puerto Rico and Honduras during the upcoming year.